I've
Like
been
that.
watching the wrong ones.
No, it's cool. That's a good one. That's a good one. But when workplace negotiations is another one.
Oh, okay.
So definitely got to update the group on that. Let me search in my app for when workplace. Yeah, there it is. Ah, no. See, this is the same goddamn one. Mirroring, labeling. Right? No, it's not. Oh my God. Yeah, it's different. So that's a breakthrough. There's two different classes on there. That's why I was confused, because this one, see, basically it says due in 2 days, due in 2 days, due in 4 days. And then it says, like, if you keep going, some of the things they don't unlock. Anyway,
Oh,
hold on 1 second, George. What's up?
okay.
Hold on. All right, cool. So yeah, let's just get rolling, man. So that's number one, is like, if you search for win workplace negotiations, you can jump into here, and this is a cool one, because it's more like you're engaged in it. Meaning, like, they'll have a negotiation that you're watching, they'll pause it, and they say, all right, now which technique would you use? You know what I mean? So as far as the
Yeah,
first
more
one
hands-on.
goes, yeah. So as far as the first one goes, definitely watch the first one. And then once you learn all the techniques in the first one, yeah, oh no, this is a different one. But anyway, so yeah, watch the first one, learn the tactics, and then in the second one, you can apply the tactics. Yeah. So and a big thing too is, like, when we're learning these things, it's really important that you practice them. Now you can take this stuff and practice with your girlfriend, practice with whoever. Mirroring, labeling. Are these things, like, are they clicking for you? Are they making sense?
Yeah, I tried yesterday, but I kind of tipped her off that I learned like a new kind of thing. So she was kind of on edge. Like I was getting her going. I was like, oh yeah, I learned this new thing. Yeah, it was kind of hard, but yeah, it is a little awkward at first. But the
Yeah.
labeling part's hard because I kept saying like, oh, you seem like you really like your new hairdo that you did today. It's just like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's
Okay, so that's good. No, I mean, but labeling really does work. When I'm talking to a landlord on the phone, and they're talking about how their situation, I would say it's if they, whatever they sound like, I would say, like, look, it seems like you're a bit frustrated with this property at this point, and that gets the person to, number one, you're building rapport, and it makes them feel like you're listening. When you actually sit there and label somebody, if you're at the airport counter, and everybody's pissed off because there's a flight that was missed, you could say, like, man, it seems like, this is the worst possible day ever for you guys. And you're really, you could come at somebody a completely different way, and you're not going to get what you want. So by using labeling and mirroring and these other things, you're going to be able to make a better connection with the people. People do business with people do, when all things equal, people do business with their friends. When all things not so equal, people do business with their friends. And what that means is that you don't always have to be the high offer. If somebody, there's cases where, let's say, for example, I got a quote on my fence when I had my fence installed, and the dude that came out, he's like, listen, you're going to get your quote. He's going to tell you, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be the highest, but we're one of the best in the area. So, you know, and you could preface that sometimes when you know you're in a multiple offer situation and you know that there's other, he's shopping your offer, there's another guy going out there. You know, let's say I have a situation with a woman and she says, I'm meeting with multiple investors. You know, here's the story. You know, it's really important for you to figure out, you know, number one, you got to figure out why she's selling. You know, what's really important to her? Is it the money? Is it getting out of there fast? You know, you have to really identify the black swan, really. And once you can figure out the person, it's easier to figure out what to say to them and how to construct it. You know, so you know, if I'm talking to this woman and she'll say, "Hey, I'm meeting with 3 other guys. I really just want this thing done fast, and you know, I really need to sell by. I need to be out in 3 weeks." So I'll you know, kind of use that. So okay, so you really need to sell in 3 weeks. I went over the you know, after going through the pictures, reviewing everything you're talking about with your timeline, I can get you to the closing table in 3 weeks. And in order to do that, I have to be at this price. Now, I may not be the highest price, but I can tell you that at this number, I'm certain that I'm 99% certain that I can get you to the closing table. There's a lot of cash buyers out there that aren't actually buying properties, and some of them will outbid me, but they're less likely to get you to the closing table. And I, you know, I hate to see it happen, and that sort of thing. So, you know, I can take that to my advantage. If you, the more information you know when you're dealing with the client, the more the better you're going to be, the better chances you're going to be to close that deal. And if that woman, if you had built rapport with her and she felt confident, you know, you labeled her, you know, you see, it seems like you really need to move fast on this. You know, what happens in 3 weeks? You know, and maybe she might say, I'm closing on another house that I just bought, and I need the money from this house to close the other house. So wow, if you, you know, so if you didn't close in 3 weeks, you might lose that other house. She said, yes, I'm gonna lose my deposit too. So like, okay, so here's what we need to do. Like, you need to make a decision. Like there's not a whole lot of time in real estate. Let me break down to you. I'll say, hey, title takes so long. And if there's an issue on title, 3 weeks seems like plenty enough time to get it done for the title department. But it's not a whole lot of time in this world. You know, so in order to get you to the closing table, here's what you know, we need to sign at this number. So, you know, that's how I deal with multiple offer situation. When I typically run into it, you know, I'll say like, hey, I might not be your best offer. I might not be your highest offer, but I am a bona fide cash buyer, and I can get you to the closing table at that number. There might be other guys that are going to come in and try to outbid, but they're not actually purchasing the property. And there is a large chance that they may end up letting you down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they might just throw a number just to kind of get your attention. Like, hey, I'll do this. And then you're like, okay. And then they come in and they're like, well, actually, we found this.
What do you mean?
Like, I guess sometimes home buyers do, like retail home buyers, they'll do it over asking price. And then once they're in, like, kind of in, they'll be like,
Okay.
oh, I want this fixed. Can you do this? Can you take this off?
Yeah, yeah, and that's also a thing you can do, and you could even say that with confidence, and you can say, look, ma'am, you know, I hate to see that too. Is another possibility when you do take higher offers is sometimes they'll come back and you know, let's say at closing date, and this is a really terrible tactic, but they'll try to renegotiate you know, $20,000 at the closing table, or they'll slap some crazy fee on there that you never knew was even existed. So, you know,
Right. And sometimes
good.
when I talk to people who have multiple offers, they're like, yeah, it sounds like that's pretty much what everyone's been offering me. And I'm kind of like, well, they all run off the same numbers. They're all, you know, it's all the same margins. So it's all going to be the same numbers. So you really just have to go with, you know, a company that's going to get it done for you.
Right. But again, it goes back to rapport and trust. So if they can trust you, if you've walked and had that conversation with them, if you built rapport, if you just did a couple times, maybe you mirrored them. And she's saying, yeah, this property, I just got the tenant out, and it's just really it's taking a while, and I'm ready to sell. And you can say, got the tenant out? And she'll say, yeah, he was, they weren't paying. And, I had to hire an attorney, and, they ended up causing damages. You know what I mean? So this is like labeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's mirroring. And then you
Mirroring.
can, at the end of it, you say, well, it seems like this whole situation was, really frustrating. And, it seems like it would have been a stressful time for you. And then just kind of stay quiet. So the key is just picking your spots. Don't feel like you have to talk, that you have to drop down and be silent sometimes and let them talk. And that's a hard thing to do for some salespeople. Another thing that you can work on is when I want you to start recording a couple conversations that you're having, and then reviewing the conversation. So whether it's me reviewing them or Dalil reviewing them, we're gonna, I want to step in and listen to what you're saying. So you're probably gonna listen to yourself, and you're gonna say, wow, I say and or like there's filler words. You know what I mean? There's like, what I mean? So there'll be a lot of filler words that you'll discover and say, hey, I got to try to work on eliminating these words. So in order
Yeah,
to
I
do
think
that,
mine
you might
sometimes,
slow it down.
I feel like sometimes there's a little too much like not talking going on. Like if I'm looking up the comp, it might be just me kind of them on hold for a little.
Well, that's okay. So if you move into the comp, here's what I do to make that less, awkward or whatever. You can, before you go into the comps, like I'm collecting information. I'm collecting the all of the information, and I'm just looking for this what is it, a Google Doc? Yeah, I think it's a doc. I'm collecting data, and I'm asking them, here it is. You're collecting the information about the property condition. You're collecting information. Let me shrink this down a bit. So these are different things that you're going to be collecting information on. Hey, what can you tell me about the property? Joe's jumping on. Hey, Joe. So you can ask different questions about the property. You can say, what is the condition? Are there any major issues? Is it occupied? Do you have, okay, yes, it's occupied. Is it a tenant, family member? Do you live there? Tell me about a little bit about the layout. Are there any special features I should know about? You know what I mean? What is the utilities for the house? Or you got to try to find out, is it gas? Is it oil, propane? We're dealing with North Carolina properties now, so you got to try to understand what's going on there. It's a warmer climate, and they have heat pumps, and you'll see electric baseboard heat more. They don't necessarily have gas everywhere like we do. There's natural gas pretty much everywhere around here. And then after I get the property condition, you're going to jump right into motivation. So your motivation questions, say, okay, so we got the property. I think I kind of understand what's going on there. What kind of timeline you looking for? Are there any debts on the property? You could say things like, do you know what houses are selling for in your area? And if it's a nice if it's a good condition property, I'll even say it sounds like a great property. Have you ever considered putting it on the market? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you just list this with a real estate agent? And a lot of people are confused when I ask that question, but the truth, what I'm trying to get at is it's a motivation question. I'm trying to identify what kind of motivation that person has and the real estate agent question, it might uncover some good information. They might say, well,
Yeah.
I used a realtor and I hate it. You know, there was a lot of issues, and then you could say a lot of issues, mirroring, and then let them talk, let them bring out that experience again, try to uncover, you know, a little bit more. So that's our job, is like, again, it's trying to find the black swan, trying to find the why did they call, why are they
Mhm.
on the phone, what's really important to this person.
Yeah, the lady I talked to yesterday, I asked her, like, why don't you just list it if you're trying to just get as much as you can for it? And she was just like, I don't, it's a lot of work. And I was like, well, like, by doing what? And she started saying, like, I don't feel like doing all like the staging. And I was like, yeah. And then you would have to, like, prep the house and maybe they might make you fix things up. And she's like, yeah, I don't really want to do all that. I was like, yeah, with us, it's just as is, you just walk away. And she's like, well, yeah, walk away. Okay, I like that. So that was definitely her
Right.
motivation, was just, not have to do more work than she has to. The money doesn't really matter to her.
Well, that's perfect. If the money doesn't really matter, the it's more important for an easy transaction for her. It's more important for her to not have to do a damn thing and fix the thing and say, look, then that's how you frame your offer. You know, when you go and
Yeah.
present the offer, you say, listen, so, you know, here's what I came up with. You know, we can close whenever the heck you want. You tell us when you want to close. We're buying the property as is, whereas you don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to spend any money on any certifications from the city, or
Yeah.
getting a certificate of occupancy. We'll take care of all those details, you know, and we can do that. And we're gonna be at $65,000 and pay all closing costs and transfer tax. So that's going to allow that person, when, you know, that if by framing an offer, a framed offer is much better than, you know, you can't just, when you go to make an offer on a property, you can't just say, I'm going to be at $60,000. You know what I mean? Anybody can get on the phone and run some comps and just make some offers. It's more
Hmm.
important that we collect the data and really drive, really try to find the why. You know, what is their actual motivation, and then pinpoint it, and then present the data, frame the offer, and really you just present it's not making an offer, you're presenting a solution that's going to solve all her problems in that one phrase, you know, by framing. So these are these are two really good questions right here, motivation questions. So what happens when you sell? I'll ask them that. You know, that's a question that not a lot of people want to ask. You know, what happens when you sell the house? And they could say, oh, well, I'm moving to Florida, you know, or whatever. Or what happens if you don't sell? And then the what happens if you don't sell is a big time motivation question, because there's going to be some people out there that say, well, I'll just keep it then. And so you just know that they're really not that motivated, and there's not a big urgency to sell the house. Yeah, I also use that when I get a dollar number. Like, let's say if somebody's like, I need 300,000, and I'll say, well, where did you get that? I'll say, well, where did you get the 300,000 number from? And they'll say, oh, well, that's what my appraiser told me, or whatever. Oh, your appraiser told you that? Well, not really an appraiser. You know, I found it. Were you talking about the Zillow number? Yeah, that's the Zillow number. Okay. Well, what happens if you don't get $300,000? Is a great question. What happens if you don't get $300,000, their asking price? You know, they'll say, well, I'll keep it then. So you're not really motivated. You know, another thing I'll use if people are giving me a number, I'll say, well, 300,000, that seems a lot closer to what you would get if you put it on the market as a listing. If I paid cash, closed quickly, you know, gave you everything that you needed, would you be able to come off of that number? Is that a negotiable number? And then they might say, well, yeah, it's a negotiable number. So that tells you that, okay, they are motivated. They do have, you know, some flexibility, because just because somebody gives you a $300,000 number, or a retail value market figure, doesn't necessarily mean that that's the number. We've gotten stuff for, sometimes they tell you 300 and you get it for 150. So the number sometimes is pretty meaningless. But again, we got to really key in on why they're actually selling and figure out all these other things so that we can solve the problem. What's going on, Dalil, William, Joe? We got George here, and we're just talking about the buying over the phone. And George was saying, we were talking about, sometimes getting silent. And he says, well, it's weird when I'm doing my comps and, it's silent. So I'm just trying to break down that phone conversation now, which is right, all found in this document here, which I believe most of us have. So once you get all your motivation and once you get your hello. All right, I'm going to mute William there. So we've got once you got your motivation, you have your property information, you're going to set the stage for part 2. You're going to say, hey, listen, my 5 minutes is up. Because when we get on this phone, we say, hey man, it's, it's 5-minute conversation. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the property condition and, timeline, that sort of thing. That, you can set the stage for part 2. You don't need to necessarily use these words, but the rundown that I give is like, hey, so at this point, I got information I need to come up with a number. I just go over some market data real quick. So we got a couple options here. It's going to take me about, you can give them the options, but this is what I say. I say, hey, it's going to take me about 10, 15 minutes. We can sit here on the phone and run through this market data together. And I can, come up with an offer right now. And we can just take care of this right now. Or if you like, we can reschedule, schedule another call to do it at that time. Most people are just going to say, yeah, I have 15 minutes. Let's do it. You know what I mean? There's no sense in saying, hey, let me call you back or hang up. But they've committed to that 15 minutes. It's okay to be on the phone. Like, how many of you guys been on the phone for 30 minutes with a pharmacy or, your insurance company or, credit card company or something like that? You're on the phone for 20, 30 minutes. So a lot of these people, when they take the call, first thing I say is, hey man, I catch you at a good time. Yes, it's a good time. So 20 minutes, 30 minutes for a phone conversation is not crazy at all. We've all done it. We've all been on the other side of it. So just don't get uncomfortable and feel like you're holding people, because this is a house. They're not selling a bicycle. So, this is a really important to again build that rapport and figure out the details and get it right. So that's pretty much, like I said, that's how you set up the next 15 minutes where you're gonna really just get into some more things about decision makers and deal killers, those sort of things. So I'll send you guys this sheet. I think you already have it, but I'll send it again after this this meeting is done. So yeah, what else we got, guys? Anybody working on anything? Anybody need any got any questions? Dalil, you want to take over? You got some topics you want to cover?
Oh yeah, I just one thing I wanted to say when you before you got into that last point was when you were saying that George was having a question about just it being silent over comps like on the phone. I mean, the thing is, whenever I'm comping on the phone, like I always just try to like talk my thoughts through it with them, so that way there's not dead space. So it's okay, I'm looking at it here. And Mike's really good at this, but you said, okay, I see that there's a garage there, blah blah blah, and like it kind of helps just like keep the seller engaged, so that way you're not feeling rushed when you're comping. And then you're just talking them through what cash sales you've seen in the area. Another thing too is like a lot of sellers they love telling you basically the highest price home that's sold in their area. Well, hey, this got 300, but you go to the comp. You go to the comp, you say, well, actually, this is renovated, so hopefully this is what we can get. But there obviously are a few differences. And sometimes if they're savvy enough, I say, pull this address up, and they're like, does this look like your house? Like, and then they're like, well, yeah, it's a big difference. And I was like, obviously that costs a lot of money to transform your fair condition house to a brand new renovation. So clearly you can't get the same as that. Like, you know, you just start quantifying their like expectations. But yeah, and then like point number 2 is like, yeah, like honestly, like I'm gonna say like 80% of the deals that I've gotten signed, they came to me with a retail ask. And like once like actually finding out their motivation, the condition, and also getting their expectations more realistic, you know, I got them like weighed down because they just, you know, I wasn't trying to like sell them. I was just like telling them like the facts. And like, I just think it's like, yeah, it's sales, but like, you don't want to necessarily feel like you're trying to sell them. All you're trying to do is tell them the facts of how we work, and then tell them the facts of their property. And like, listen, like your property is worth X if you do this, or it's going to be worth like Y if you sell cash, but it's not going to be worth what this renovated property is worth. And if it is renovated, then like list it, like, because we're gonna essentially, we're gonna lowball you in your eyes because you have a nice property. You shouldn't take $100,000 less. But if you want to do that, we can come in and close. So I mean, you know, it's just about having just an honest conversation and not sound like a robot on the phone, honestly. And you know, I think that helps when I ever like build rapport with a seller as well. Like I just try to talk to them just like almost like a friend, like, you know, and giving suggestions, and then letting them know what we can do. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And then I guess it kind of helps because some people might not know what a comp is. And this way, while you're talking through it, they're like, oh, he's just comparing other houses that are similar to mine.
Right. And like,
they might not want to
yeah,
ask, but you're just kind of telling them anyway.
yeah. And then like sometimes they'll throw a home sale price, and then you look at the comp and you're like, man, this is like 1,000 square feet bigger than your house. Like it's not the same. Like it's just not the same house. You know, so, you know, like I just try to, like I said, I don't really try to sell them. I just try to like, you know, set reality, because most sellers at the end of the day come because they don't really know what their house is worth. So it's our job to give them that knowledge and education, and then from there explain how our process works. And then at the end of the day, it will be on them to decide. I think the only part where we come in terms of our salesmanship is you just want them to make a decision like sooner rather than later. Like we definitely don't want leads in our working roster for a week or two. Like, you know, we want to get them to make a decision. Like if they say no, that's fine, but I'm just trying to get to a decision, just so I'm not like just basically having all of a sudden cold leads sit there.
Right.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that's where, you know, your question asking ability and rapport building is really gonna save you a lot of time. And in the long run, when you can identify a person's motivation, you're not gonna waste a lot of time with people that just aren't going to be ever going to be a good fit for us. You know, by asking the questions, what happens if you don't get 165,000? And they'll say, well, I that's my mortgage balance. I got to get that. Well, I can tell you that as a cash buyer and being in this industry for as long as we have, that the $165,000 number is not something that's realistic for anyone in this space. So what you really need to do is have a conversation with our broker and get your property listed on the market. And if they say, well, I'm not listing it on the market. Well, then it's, I can tell you right now that, there's not, like I said, you're going to be having these conversations for a long time, and it might get frustrating. So, you know, pass it, move it on, you know, and then at that point, it's make me sell. They don't want to list. They don't want to sign as a cash deal, you know, move on to the next one. So,
Yeah, and then
Can I
also,
add?
oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to just say really, really quick too. It's something that Mike drilled in my head early on was pretty much know your options as well, because sometimes the numbers might not make sense on a cash in or even a list end, but we can always try to like exhaust the other options as well. We have the options contract, so sometimes you can even like throw it in there. Where, all right, well, like since we can't meet anywhere in the middle with the pricing, I really want to try to get you the number. I do have some off-market investors that are willing to pay in that price range. So if you let me contract it at like, just say, you couldn't meet at 50, so you wanted 70, try to lock me in at the 70 for like 10 to 15 days. There's no harm to you. It's only a few days, and it'll allow me to try to push it, to another buyer for you. And sometimes they might like that idea too, because they're like, oh, you know what, great. It's only for a few days. First off, they still got time. And then secondly, you're still trying to push them for that number. We still might be able to make deals on it. So that was just it.
Also, too, this is kind of like a third option, like besides like, okay, like obviously you have the cash offer, obviously you have the listing option, but then sometimes too, especially like depending on the area, like, always keep the option open that, hey, that we might have a retail buyer for this. Obviously you might not know right that second, but it always just keeps the lead open. Because, obviously, Dave and other people do represent people that are looking for stuff all the time. So that's usually the third option. I try to pitch, like, if I feel like there's no cash option that's viable, and then the listing they don't want to do, I say we actually may have essentially a direct to person. I just have to check, with the team and see if we have someone interested in this area. And it just keeps the conversation, just keeps the lead from it being completely dead. So I usually try to like at least try that as well.
Yeah, certainly good point. So, guys, we just lost William. So we have 4 minutes left on this meeting. Is there anything that anybody wanted to cover before we jump off and end it? I got the recording, by the way. I'm going to send it to everybody when it's done.
And you said you're going to email this kind of list, this.
I'm going to email this list
Script.
and the recording of this meeting to everybody when we hang up. Well, it takes a minute to convert, but once it's ready, I'll send it. All right, sounds good. I guess that is all.
Actually, one more point. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, we've touched on this before, but I think it needs to be said again. Just make sure that, like, when you have your leads, like, make sure that you guys are updating, like, in the activity section, like, what's going on. Because if like Dave or Mike or even me see there's been 2 days, like maybe you have tried to reach out, but if there's no notes there, it just looks like it's a lead sitting. So just always like let us know. Even if they say follow up Friday, then right in there, follow up on this on Friday. Like that way we just know like what's going on.
All right.
All right. Good point, man. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, guys, enjoy your day. Go get it. Like I said, there's some good things to be had on a Saturday. You're going to get a whole lot of people, even though it's a nice day. Kids are still in school for the meantime. And then even if you wanted to make a call on Sunday, sometimes that works. I usually typically save Sundays for family. If you guys do church or worship, whatever, that's cool too. You definitely want to have time for yourself, to kind of collect and just be there. It doesn't always have to be about the business, but it is important to dedicate the time to whatever it is you're doing in full. So, all right, guys, I guess that'll be it. And like I said, we'll see you Monday.
All right, Mike, and happy early Father's Day too.
Hey, thanks,
Yeah,
man.
happy early Father's Day. Mike.
Yeah, you
Happy
too,
Father's Day to Joe.
Thanks,
and,
bro.
And you guys, George, you don't have any kids, right?
Hell no.
Not yet.
Joe.
Yeah. Y'all gotta hold off as long as y'all can.
Yeah, man, not too long though, because or else you got kids, like you got to start doing math, and then you're like, man, I'll be like 60 years old when they're 20, so you don't want to be too old.
Yeah.
All right, man. Later.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Peace out.